Hey, here's one for you. Do you think that Terry McLaurin is going to retire as a Washington Commander? What are the odds that he does? We're going to talk about in today's video. And welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg. I am your host while I'm headbutting the microphone. This channel, of course, is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure that you have subscribed to this channel. When you do, hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. Before we get into today's video, of course, everybody wants to save some money. We all need to, because a lot of us, myself included, have kids going back to school. We've got to buy all of their supplies. We've got to, buy their school clothes and things like that. And so my partners here at Mint Mobile want to save you some money so you can put more of that hard-earned money to other things.
Have you ever thought, why is my wireless bill so expensive? What are you paying all of that money for? Speed, coverage, data, access to 5G, unlimited talk and text? What about mobile hotspots? Well, with my partners at Mint Mobile, they offer all of those features for as low as $15 a month, and it is very easy to get started with Mint Mobile. How does it work? Well, Mint Mobile works with your digital eSIMs card that most phones nowadays come with. You can be up and running in less than 15 minutes. And if you don't have a digital eSIMs card in your phone, my partners at Mint Mobile will send you a physical SIM for free. That's right, for free. Big Wireless wants you to think that it's too difficult to switch, but Mint Mobile makes it super easy, and their service is outstanding. I have been testing Mint Mobile for the last couple of months, and I have not seen any drops in calls, and performance and speed has been outstanding. I can watch YouTube in 4K, movies in 4K. I can even play online video games without any buffering whatsoever. Why pay all of that money for access to premium services when you can get all of those services with Mint Mobile for a fraction of the cost? Switch to Mint Mobile today. Go to trymintmobile.com/maniacs and get started on your savings. The link will be in the description of this video. Let's get to it. Speaking of getting to it, what was that? What was I saying? Oh, that's right.
So Terry McLaurin, okay, a lot of us tend to really get attached to these players, right? And, Ryan Kerrigan was almost a lifelong Redskin until he went to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then that just seemed odd. But the question is, will Terry McLaurin retire a Commander? And obviously, he's still got several years left. I mean, he's 28 years old right now. He's going to be in the NFL, I'm hoping, for at least another 10 years. But the one thing that I have noticed in today's NFL is the lack of the same quarterback and the same receivers sticking with the same team throughout their entire career. A lot of that comes down to the fact that you got some teams that are just, they just kind of rotate. Excuse me. They just kind of rotate these players once they get to a certain age, right? It's like they want to keep the team young. And so you get to the wrong side of 30, and they feel like, well, if you're wanting big time money, and maybe you're still one of the top elite receivers in the league, but we're not going to pay you that money because, number one, we can develop our players. We've already proved that we can develop our players, and so we can develop somebody else who's going to come in and give us some great minutes. And so, we'd rather allocate our money towards someone who we know can be with us for another, 4 or 5 years. And maybe you're at the point to where you might have 3 good years left in you. And so you do the math. And I think, too, also it depends on, how these rookie contracts are. And they don't really get their first major contract. What I consider a major contract is, of course, something that's not a rookie contract. Their first contract they have to pretty much negotiate to really solidify themselves, right, as a player. And so I know that sounds bad. You shouldn't use money as a reason, but you know what I'm saying. And so that first contract, you know, most of the time you have already been on a team for about 4 or 5 years. And so, if you come into the league at, let's say, 21, 22, then you're in your late 20s by the time that you sign your first big contract. And so, once that contract is up, because maybe that contract is for 4 or 5 years, and you're on what people say, I hate this. Now that I'm getting closer to 50, I think this is so obnoxious, but people have the term the wrong side of 30. And it really should, honestly, should depend on the person's athletic ability and have they lost a step or anything. I mean, if they haven't lost a step, then it really doesn't matter what your age is. Tom Brady proved that, right? And many other players in the league are proving this by having longevity in their careers. But when you talk about Terry McLaurin in general, obviously I feel like he's been the consummate face of the franchise. When everybody else is trying to put Chase Young as the face, or one of the variety of quarterbacks that we have had come and go, it always really comes down to Terry McLaurin has been the consistent guy. And of course, his contract I think is up for renewal in 2025. And so, you start negotiating about that time, he is going to be turning 30. And so you start to think, okay, how much longer, like if we renew him, how much longer is Terry McLaurin going to really be effective, not just be an effective player, but play at a high level? Because you do start to think about that. You're like, by the time a receiver gets to about 35, they are going to kind of start slowing down a little bit. You know, they're just not going to be probably as explosive as they used to be. A lot of their great years are going to already be behind them. And so at that point, if they want to keep playing, usually what winds up happening is they're going to eventually get cut by their original team because their original team is finally going to get into a headspace to where they're going to want to be able to keep bringing in some new guys and keep developing and keep the team consistent and winning and young. And you can't come down to, well, this is a fan favorite, although you want to. And so it really, I think it's going to come down to, has Terry McLaurin lost a step or not? What he has done at that point. Because I really feel like, this year and next year is going to be, it's really going to determine if Terry McLaurin even stays with the Commanders. I don't think he would want to go anywhere else. But I think at that point it's going to come down to the team and their, as they develop other wide receivers. Those wide receivers are going to eventually pass Terry McLaurin, or is Terry McLaurin going to prove that he is the cream of the crop? And I would say nowadays it's almost more unlikely that you have any of these players staying with the same team forever. Throughout their entire football experience. And Terry McLaurin, as much as I would hate the fact of seeing him go play for another team, I think it's the only way that I feel like that he retires a Commander is if, when he does hang it up, he said he signs like a 1-day contract with the Commanders to retire with them. Just like a lot of other wide receivers that have come and gone have done with the Washington Redskins. Look back on this. Art Monk didn't, he didn't, well, he did retire as a Redskin, but he didn't finish out his career. And maybe that's what I should have named this video, honestly. Will Terry McLaurin finish out his career with the Commanders? And will he retire? Or will he retire as a Commander? Because Gary Clark went to Arizona. I can't remember where Ricky Sanders went to after Washington. I don't know if he. I feel like he did. I want to say he went to Atlanta, but I'm not sure. But I know that Art Monk. I think Art Monk went to the Jets and then the Eagles, and then that was it. Um, and then likewise, we've had some receivers come to us that were always considered, he's a Ram. Like Henry Ellard, for instance, he still had a lot of traction left, a lot of juice, and he was a big time like Los Angeles Rams player. And so when he went to Washington, I was like, wow, this is just weird seeing Henry Ellard in a Redskins uniform, but you see it, and so it's hard. It's hard to really see these players go to other teams, but eventually, I think it's going to happen. I don't think any of these players, maybe even including Jaden Daniels, who knows? I don't think you're going to see any of these players play for one team for their entire career. I think it's become so much of a rarity to see one player just play for one team his entire career, unless that he only plays like maybe 6 to maybe 8 seasons in the NFL. Then maybe you can see it, because that's probably considered, even though that's probably actually the average career for a football player, that's actually seems like it's kind of short. And so I think any time you see players that are going to play well into the double digit years in the NFL, then their chances of sticking with that same team completely drops. So overall, again, I just think it's a rare thing. I mean, you really have to sit there and think, all right, who had started with their team start to finish? Eli Manning, of course, he never played for any other teams but the Giants. But his brother, Peyton, he was a longtime Colt, then went to the Broncos. So if I would be a betting man right now, I would say, if I stick with the title of will Terry McLaurin retire a Commander, I think it's likely he could retire as a Commander, but will he play his entire career as a Commander? I don't think he does. I don't think he does. And I think that we have to be prepared that if we're going to be a modern football team that is always in the position to compete, that you don't hold on to players past their prime or anything like that. But you got to realize, as much as they may be a fan favorite, you bring in some new blood and you keep things going. And hopefully, though, with Terry McLaurin, he's going to be one of those special players that he's going to be so good, kind of like Darrell Green was, so good for his entire full career that you don't want to give him up. Let's see what happens. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, give it a share. Let me know what you think in the comments. Just keep it clean, keep it nice. And with that said, I will see you in the next one.